Hello, my name's Olurotimi Osha. Today is Sunday, it's May 24th, 2026, and I'm going to be doing a mini deep dive into scripture, the Bible, so we can get knowledge, instruction, and guidance on how to live a good life. Normally, other days I discuss history, I discuss American presidents, but on Sundays, I'm a Christian. uh, I do more than just studying history and going to university and acquiring university degrees. I also develop my faith, which guides me, and it serves as a guidepost for me. There's actually a saying in the Bible, you know, the word of God is a lamp, is a lamp to my feet, to my path, right? I think I'm paraphrasing. But today, what I want to do is I want to discuss the significance of honoring our parents, right? Of honoring our parents, honoring our mothers. This I was motivated because of um, because of two things. A message my mom gave me, sent me today, while I was in church. My mom, of course, she's been going to court because of my case. I've done videos and I normally discuss how I was assaulted on under false flag and a swatting. Montgomery County Police and a man called Jide Warere, Howard University professor, they orchestrated a swatting, a false emergency, and assaulted me in my home in order to discredit and defame me and to obstruct justice, right? Um, to obstruct justice in federal EEOC and other complaints I had uh, in my place of employment, which is my constitutional rights, my First Amendment right to petition the government. Um, so Jide Warid and the state of Maryland then conjured up this Jide Warid as my uncle. He's not related to me. My mom's been going to court. So in the process, she's been going to court. But my mom, my family's in Nigeria, and they misinformed my mother of what happened. So my mom's been going to court against this guy, Jide Wariri, in Nigeria. In the process, she fell down in court. My mother's 85 years old, going on 86, and so I've been so concerned. I've been in America almost 28 years, and I haven't been home, right? So I've been getting degrees, doing well, but my plan when this happened was to go and surprise my mother and spoil her. This is her, she's been a good mother. I had good parents. My father passed away while I was in law school. And of course, that shocked me. But I've been so eager to do things for my mother to make sure that, she's um, living in ease and comfort. My mother, of course, uh, she's enjoyed lots of things in life, so material things are not so important to her because uh my mother's traveled to over 30 countries. So but still, in my culture, and in the Bible, I'm going to be showing this in the Bible, we're supposed to honor our parents when they're old. So that's concerned me. And the other thing that triggered me, that motivated me to do this, is there's a viral video of a 75-year-old woman who is left in a hospice and been abandoned by her parents and she by her children, and she's saying people shouldn't have children. She's a black woman, but apparently it's part of a trend, right? It's called digital blackface, and it's AI. You can see it's actually AI generated, and but basically it is, even though it's AI generated, and they said it been engineered to sort of just disseminate misinformation, especially, or to stigmatize the black community. But there's a trend in America, right? There's a lot going on. There are many children who disrespect their parents in America, who abuse their parents. It's very common. Just recently in December, was it December 14, 2025, the world, learned that Rob Reiner, the movie director, and his wife were killed by their son, 32-year-old son, Nick Reiner. He's said to have struggled with mental illness. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. Uh, but there's still no justification. Of course, he's facing murder charges right now, double murder charges, amongst other things. Um, and it's just been that trend. There was another instance, this year as well, of Barbara Dare, who was killed by her son. Right, Barbara Dare was the late Cook County commissioner. Uh, Chicago is in Cook County. For people who don't know, so she was killed by her son, and it's been going on and on. Apart from that, you see people abusing their parents. You see many celebrities who hate their parents openly. They come out. America. It's very interesting that even though America is a land where we have First Amendment and we have privacy laws, we have the Fifth Amendment, the right to be silent. We have all these laws that are constitutional and enshrined in our constitution that protect your privacy. But Americans love to overshare, and in that oversharing, they abuse their parents. They talk about how they hate their parents. There are celebrities who talk about, yes, how their parents, sexually abused them. Like Sinead O'Connor. She's late now, but she talked about being abused and sexually abused. But that's unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate. But some things, probably left to, they're best left, you probably treat certain things, especially with respect to family, private, because I'm going to share something now. Um, if we read, this is a discussion about the Bible. The Bible says, it tells us about their blessings, right, associated with honoring our parents, right? And there are also curses that come with dishonoring your parents in the Bible, right? It is unfortunate if you have parents who've abused a child. If one has parents who abuses them, abandons them, it makes it difficult for that child to be able to honor their parents. But again, the religion, Christianity, is about turning the other cheek. It's about forgiveness and reconciliation, especially. And I'm going to dig into the Bible and just show how it's so significant to respect those laws regarding parents, even if you've had terrible parents, abusive parents, right? Um, you know, if one wants to take the position, because the Bible also comes with curses, right? And if you want to be a Calvinist, right? I've discussed what a Calvinist is. The Calvinists believe that, look, from the beginning, God had already predestined some people for damnation. They're damned. There's nothing they can do about it. Well, if you want to take that path, right? If people want to take that path, that, well, they're amongst the damned, since after all their parents abuse them and they can't honor them just because their parents abuse them when they're kids, and so, well, and you appropriate it, and you don't want to break that curse, right? As a Calvinist to say, the Calvinists advise, they do decree, they do theorize. It's just a theory. I don't believe in what the Calvinists say, but they say, look, some people are just damned, and the blessed are blessed, but there's some people that are damned, and there's nothing they can do about it, right? If you're cursing your parents because they abused you, if you dishonor them because they abused you, then you will be putting yourself in the camp of those damned people, like the Calvinists. But you can take control, take charge, and say, no, you will break away from those curses and not be damned. Those curses, despite the trauma and abuses your parents caused you as a child, and you break away from that, and you will honor them just because God says honor them. Because your parents, regardless, still did a lot, right? I'm one of those people. I believe I would be nothing without my parents, right? I would be nothing. And that's literally true of everybody, because your mother still has to carry you for 9 months. Some people, well, maybe they're premature, or some people take longer. Your mother has to still carry you in her womb, conceive you, take care of you, breastfeed you. She gave you, uh, you know, uh, baby milk or whatever, formula, or if she gave you up somewhere, so long as you're alive, let honor your parents. And it can be a challenge, lots of there are many celebrities. And when I'm seeing celebrities who are like um openly excoriate their parents because they had an abusive relationship with their parents as kids. Tons. I shouldn't single out them out. Some parents who've exploited them. Like I think I remember Macaulay Culkin when I was young. Several others. Was it Lindsay Lohan? Several, and they, people who come from what toxic families and they have a toxic relationship, and it makes it very difficult. You know, every individual, still has to bear their own cross, and do not be ensnared. It takes two people to create conflict, to create a fight, right? So if one has already done all the offensive stuff, right, you can just stay away, especially when it comes to your parents, and you can refrain and surrender yourself to God and let God take control. Look, there's nothing in this world that God cannot remedy. And we have access to God through humility, surrender, and prayer. And these are things, no matter the hurts, the abuses of parents, no matter what, God is able to heal that. God is able to heal that. I remember once I was coming from work. This was now 4 years ago, because it was just before this unsavory episode in my life happened. And I was on the phone with my friend, and I saw this beautiful young lady. She looked like she was a college student, maybe could have been a Howard student, well dressed. And then, but someone she was holding closely. It was on the street, it was around U Street Cardozo, right? U Street Cardozo, 14th Street, She was holding this person, who was a crackhead, a homeless person, looked filthy, like they just, homeless, look filthy, crackhead, itchy, and all that stuff. She was holding her and shouting, reprimanding, and taking her. She was taking her like home. And I was telling my friend, because I couldn't understand that, okay, this person's so well dressed. Why is she holding this homeless person, cracking, you know, holding her so tight and protectively? And she's yelling and screaming. She's being protective, but she's yelling and screaming because this other person is trying to stay away, And if this person is trying to kidnap someone, that's a crime. So she's not trying to kidnap her, but I couldn't understand what was going on. And I was talking to my friend, because I was on the phone, I was walking to the metro, and when I saw it, and everybody else was ignoring her or looking at her, but she didn't care. The girl wasn't embarrassed or ashamed. And my friend was a female, a black American female, and she explained to me, she said, that's her mother. Her mother's a crackhead. That's her mother. And I understood it. I once, a friend of mine, sorry, so a pastor in my church, so there used to be a time, this was a decade ago, after church, we'd go out, he'd have me go with him, and we'd go and evangelize, go and preach to people or whatever, trying to, I'd go to a McDonald's and sit there and try and talk to people, talk to them about the Bible. So one day we met this young guy. His baby mama was working at McDonald's, and then he told us his story. He was just 19 years old, and he told us how his mother was a crackhead who kicked him out when he was 14, right? And so, so it's, I guess it's difficult. And he'd never spoken with his mom, never had a relationship with her since then. He's since become a drug dealer. All sorts of things had happened to him. And, he was coming to our church for a while. We invited him. Now he was a baby. He had a child with his baby mama, and was trying to wanted to feel more responsible, you know. And you could see that sort of when we spoke with him, he spoke with a lot of resentment towards his mother because he felt she abandoned him. Again, that's the life of a Christian is surrender, right? Surrender, and it's very important that if you want those blessings that Christians have, you surrender and you submit to the commandments that are in the Bible, and one of them, very significantly is honor your father and your mother. Let me quickly read it. And again, remember, I just saw this pop up. Okay, this is Proverbs 12:1 regarding instruction. Whoever loves instruction loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid. And this is an opportunity, you can learn, love, you can try and love instruction, accept knowledge and instruction, and not be stupid. And one of the this big huge instruction we have is from the Ten Commandments. So the fifth commandment of the Bible is honor your father and your mother, and it has a promise. It comes with a promise. I remember growing up, we were always told in moral instruction that honor your father and your mother was the only commandment in the Bible that comes with a promise, right? And let me read it. It's Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you. So it promises long life if you honor your father and your mother. It doesn't say, well, if your father and your mother are good to you, then you should honor them, and so you can have long life. No, it just says honor your father and your mother. It doesn't matter if they're good to you or they're bad to you, right? Uh, Honor them, God will do the rest. Right? God will do the rest. Before I get into this, I I I I normally like to follow I follow Bill Gates, right, on social media, because I Bill Gates is somebody who loves reading. Despite him being a busy businessman, he's a voracious reader. And so he reads a lot and discusses a lot of things. Interestingly, Bill Gates always had a very close relationship with his parents, right? With his parents. His father, he made his father co chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He wrote a book, published a book last year, uh, Source Code, which he dedicated to his mother. And in it, he was talking about how um, his mother sort of inspired him to give away his money, because his mother was president of United Way of King County, and she was co-chair of the board of United Way International. So she was really into his philanthropy. And she had a saying. She said, well, um, with wealth comes the responsibility of giving it away. So he was saying that, that she sort of inspired him to create the, Gates Foundation, which is very famous, and he's given away at least $59 billion, right? And so he had a very close relationship, and he talked about how, he was geeky. We've known Bill Gates. Bill Gates he was, in his time, he was the youngest uh, person to become a billionaire at 31, right? There have been people, much younger people since then. For us, there's the latest young billionaire, Mr. Beast, the YouTuber, who's in his 20s, right? And he's a billionaire already from doing YouTube's videos. Um, but Bill Gates, he dropped out of college, co-founded Microsoft with his friend Paul Allen when he was 19 years old, and he talked about how his mother helped him build his social skills, because he was a geek, right? So geeks who just like to read and like to play with computers, they're probably not big on socializing. But Bill Gates, apparently, he has social skills, right? He apparently is a very charming person, very charismatic person. And he talked about how it was his mom, that it wasn't that way, but it was his mom who motivated him and, developed those social skills in him, got him to come out of his shell and have those social and leadership skills, right? And his philanthropy and all that house from his mother, right? And that's so significant. Um, for me, it reminded me a lot of my own. My mom's alive; she's in her 80s, 85. It reminded me of my mom as well, because my mom. Okay, so when I was growing up, um, I went to this super. I went to these excellent schools. That was what my parents did for me, right? But my mom. So I was always initially they used to give me these what they call double promotion, right? They would just jump me that way. I'm ahead of my peers, and they try to move me forward. But my mom would, draw me backwards. My mom would draw me backwards. Even though I was first in class, she'd pull me back, saying no, she wanted me to develop social skills and grow with my peers. And that's more important because my mom had been a teacher, and she said, when you're letting kids move way ahead of their um, peers, they wouldn't be able to socialize appropriately with their peers. They might become dysfunctional just because you're overemphasizing the academic ability they have, the intellectual ability. If you overemphasize that, one will suffer. And my mom was very big on that. I learned to socialize and all that stuff. She was very big on those things. And as I was reading that about Bill Gates, it was just reminding me of my mom. And so, but anyway, and to reinforce what it is, I'm talking about the significance of um, honoring our parents. It's in the Bible. This is all inside the Bible. So I'm just going to dive deep. And apart from doing that, I'm just going to go in and be showing all these places in the Bible where parents are honored, just to show how significant this is, right? It's very important in the Bible, and it comes up a lot. And I'll be addressing where in the Bible it comes up, right? Where in the Bible these come up. So I'm going to be reading from Proverbs 6:20, right? And this first one, Proverbs 6, verse 20. It says, "My son, keep your father's command and do not forsake the law of your mother." So you see how significant that is. Um, and I'll read Proverbs 15. Um, Proverbs 15:20. In Proverbs 15, verse 20, it says, "A wise son makes a father glad, but a foolish man despises his mother." Right? So you see how significant these things are in the Bible. Um, the significance of um, the significance of honoring our parents, and it's the blessings you're looking for. So right, so you just follow Proverbs 10, verse 1. It says, "A wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish son is the grief of his mother." You see, these themes are so recurrent, they keep coming up. Um, there's Proverbs 17:25. And these themes, they're recurrent, right? It's like they're just paraphrases, but they have the same consistent message. A foolish son is a grief to his father and bitterness to her who bore him, right? Proverbs 23:22. In Proverbs 23, verse 22, it says, "Listen to your father who begot you, and do not despise your mother when she is old," right? Then there's Proverbs 30, verse 17. And numerous, right? And numerous just shows how significant, right? Lots of instruction, guidance, advice. This is Proverbs 30:17. It says, "The eye that mocks his father and scorns obedience to his mother. The ravens of the valley will pick it out, and the young eagles will eat it, right? See how it goes on and on. Um, Proverbs 31:28. In Proverbs 31:28, it says, it's talking about a virtuous woman, right? A mother, a virtuous woman. It says, her children rise up and call her blessed, right? So rise up and bless your mother, right? This is so important. Rise up and bless your mother. Bless your parents, right? Don't be like those who abandon and ignore their parents. There's that tendency. There's a tendency in America sometimes. Let me read. And for people who are close to their mothers, women normally are able to tell people who are close to their mothers, because guys who are close to their mothers, they often know how to treat women. You'll see women tend to like guys who, because if you're close to your mother, you know how to treat women. You know how to empathize, how to be sensitive towards women, right? So Proverbs 6:20-26. This is something else that being close, honoring your mother can help you do. When you honor your mother, you're able to do this. Let me read it. Proverbs chapter 6 from verse 20. My son, keep your father's command and do not forsake the law of your mother. Bind them continually upon your heart, tie them around your neck. When you roam, they will lead you. When you sleep, they will keep you. And when you awake, they will speak with you. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law a light. Reproofs of instruction are the way of life, to keep you from the evil woman, from the flattering tongue of a seductress. Do not lust after her beauty in your heart, nor let her allure you with her eyelids. For by means of a harlot, a man is reduced to a crust of bread, and an adulteress will prey upon his precious life. So those are things, honoring your parents, honoring your mother, these are things that they can help you avoid, right? You can avoid those those that have this spirit of Jezebel. So there are some women I talked about a Jezebel pretending to be a prophetess of God that I met, right? In the workplace, you know, everybody wants to call themselves a prophet these days. There's Proverbs 1, verse 8. My son, hear the instruction of your father, right? And do not forsake the law of your mother, for they will be a graceful ornament on your head and chains about your neck, right? So honor your parents, right? Honor your parents, just like, Bill Gates. You see how Bill Gates honored his parents. Um, and many people want to be like Bill Gates. I don't know, I'm not going to go into his religion or lack of religion, but honor your parents. That comes with a blessing, right? So that your days will be prolonged. You have a blessed time on this earth. My name is Oluro Timiosha, and that's it for Sunday. I'll keep you posted. Thank you.